school's parade. I think it was a success, you know. I mean, Doc, remember those times of drilling and so? But it's
No,
a
well, I don't remember the times of drilling. I remember the juicy and the
oh,
and
and
the
the
rough
bond and the
cake,
bond, the rough cake and the bond. Yeah, that's what
afterwards.
I think. That's what I think
You know,
we normally would go
yeah.
for.
But I'm told now they're given a cupcake. The tradition continues.
Yes.
But now it's instead of the rough cake, they get a cupcake, and I think they give them some juice or
Some
something.
medical juice,
Yes.
I think,
So
and
the tradition
so, so
continues.
people big appetite getting a smaller thing anyway. I still find it the rough cake for sure, and the bond at one point the bond is to be bigger than my face. You'll have a small face. Yeah, but let me just say tonight again, we're going to focus largely on our 47th year of independence, and we want to hear from you, the callers or the listeners, what you think about what we have achieved so far, and your own opinion about what you know before and what you know now. And then we will obviously, once we have the time, touch on the same registration, reconfirmation, and even some of the experiences that you've had with respect. Some of you who have gone, and we are hearing a lot of developments with respect to persons. A lot of, well, it is rumored that certain things happen. We'll bring it up and you will tell us exactly your reaction. Let me just say good night to Rosa Central, and we'll say good night to the wider UWB family and to everyone and our executive members and all our caretakers and all Dominicans at large. For those who have lost loved ones, let me say that, it's something that we live with every day. And I know you are saddened by your loss, but, we condole on your behalf and we say, the good Lord never give us more than we can take. So tonight with me is Honorable Dr. Thompson Fontaine, political leader in the studios. Well, I think we are expected to be joined by Mr. Dr. TC, but I think he may come in a little later. But by and large, we will do what we have to do. But tonight is your night. And Doc, early o'clock, your introductory remark.
Yes, let me say good night, of course, to our many listeners across Dominica, and not only in Dominica, definitely, but certainly in other parts of the globe. A very special good night to all of you. Thank you for being tuned in to the Workers' Voice. And as you said earlier, so to those who've lost loved ones, yesterday we had a very important, we had a very big, important person who left us yesterday, Mr. Ezekiel Durant of Rivière Civic Montjon, and we had his sending off yesterday. And so we just want to, continue to extend condolences to his family. And for those who may have lost loved ones, we heard of a young man from, I believe, from Bellevue, who died at the age, very young age, and we have different persons who've lost their lives at this time. Just want to extend our condolences, and I also want to send out wishes of recovery to 4 young men from Grand Fond who were involved in an accident.
Wow.
Returning from the Creole Festival on Sunday morning.
Wow.
After spending the entire night at Creole Fest and driving back to Grand Fond early morning, the vehicle, the driver fell asleep and the vehicle ran off the road, and 4 of the young men on this vehicle varying degrees of injury. The good thing is 3 of them have been released from the hospital and just 1 is currently at the hospital. Vivian, it was great seeing you this afternoon. I just hope, and want to wish you complete and total recovery. He has a broken leg, in fact 2 broken legs, and he has to be operated upon.
Wow.
So we hope and wish him well. But he's in high spirits. I was able to visit with him this afternoon. He's in very high spirits, and just thankful to God that they survived, because, I was telling him the thing is, the area where they went off was probably the best area that they could have gone off, because anywhere else is precipice. For the next mile or so would have been
the miracle and spiritual hands of that place.
Yes. So like I said to him, God, it was not you guys' turn to go, and it was really, the hand of God there, and so to him, to Uroy as well, who he'd lost several of his teeth.
Wow!
As a result, and it was almost like a freak accident, in the sense that the vehicle kind of went into the culvert, and yet the injuries were substantial, and they were not speeding even, so we are thankful at least, they survived. But they've learned their lessons. I don't think they will drive up after an all-nighter
Yeah.
like this again, and that was always the concern that we had, people having stayed overnight at the Creole Fairs, having to drive long distances, from lack of sleep and probably having, and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, I think I've been to an accident some years ago, and same thing, falling asleep. I felt out about sleeping, and I just took the chance and go. And next thing, I end up below a bridge. Luckily, nothing really happens. Seriously, but the doctor said to me, "Look, once you're feeling sleepy, once you take 5 minutes, you're good to go." So for those of you who sometimes you have right to enjoy yourselves, and once you feel a little bit drowsy, and so you can just pack up on the side. For 5-10 minutes, take a look at it. And then after that, you wash your face and you're good to go. But don't risk it because you're feeling that you want to sleep, but all you want to do is to reach home. No, you may never reach home. So just do your best and God will do the rest. Yes, as we say, we expect to be joined by our brother, Dr. TC, and we are working on it. But in the meantime, Doc, 47 years on from our independence, I'm observing our political independence. It is a view by many that we have not attained economic independence. To a large extent, I would say that is not the case. But for sure, Dominica became independent 4th of November 1978. Is that correct? Yes. So far, but this is political independence. As far as I'm aware, I don't know how much we can boast that we have been able to sustain ourselves economically, but I know for sure we are still largely dependent as a nation on outside help. And so, Doc, what is your view on that? Because we have 47 years on. What is it?
You're supposed to be a big man. You're supposed to be able, but we avote, I mean, I say that in jest, but we really are. I mean, when you think about it, where we are now, 47 years later, we are actually behind where we were 47 years when we got our independence. And at the time of independence, there was so much excitement and so much hope. We were breaking free of the colonial masters. We were charting our own course. We had a good education system. We were producing scholars, we were producing people, thinkers, and so on. And Dominicans were basically, Dominica was well known for the quality of its human resource at that time. And it looked like we had the world at our fingertips. And then 2000 happened and we started going downhill, and it's very unfortunate because up to a point, the country was doing well. Young people. I remember when I left school, for example, when I left the sixth form, I was in 1982 or thereabouts as a 16-year-old. 1982. We actually, all of us, the entire class that graduated, got work within 2-3 weeks.
That's correct.
Every single one of us got somewhere to work. And now our students are leaving school, and if a handful get work, they're lucky. So that to me is a sign that we have gone backwards. That we have not been able to cater for young people, and our agriculture has not been taken care of. Our manufacturing, we have lost our manufacturing companies. Our local businesses are almost non-existent. Our local business owners who were once there, we had there was a time when the majority of our businesses in Dominica were locally owned, no more. So we've really gone back. If you have any sober reflection on Dominica, you will see that we have regressed, and that is very, very unfortunate. And a lot of it has to do with our type of governance, with the Labour Party government, and in particular under the leadership of Roosevelt Skerrit. So the legacy of Roosevelt Skerrit is really to destroy the independence dream of thousands of Dominicans, tens of thousands of Dominicans, to destroy the hopes and the dreams of the vast majority of our young people. And that is a legacy. That is his legacy. He can't escape from it.
Yes, and I just say that there's one social indicator or area that you could look at and say we have not done well. And look at our population. It has not grown. We have been dwindling with respect to our population. So there's a lot of mass migration.
Yes, at independence, we had 82,000 people.
Of course.
at independence. So in the interim, we have lost, over that time, 82. So that's how many years? in 78 we were roughly around 80,000.
47,
47
years later.
So on average, we have about 3,000 births on average over the years. So you think about 150,000 persons who would have been born over the 47-year period. Right. But instead we have, and we probably would have lost about 47,000 people, roughly 1,000 people a year.
Right.
So we would have, on average, our natural population increase would have given us at least an extra 70,000.
Yeah.
So we really should be about 140,000, 150,000 people going through natural things. But we have gone in the reverse. We are now less than depending on who you want to listen to, we are anywhere between 65,000 to 70,000 people.
Right.
So that is a major setback, I think. The fact that the country has not grown in terms of its population, the fact that we have lost so many businesses, the fact that, we have seen an invasion of sorts by the Chinese into Dominica, taking over our retail sector almost en masse. I mean, the retail stores before were owned by people.
That's correct.
Our locals who made money and who had a livelihood. All of that is now gone.
Yeah.
So we have some serious reflection to do as a people, where we want to go and whether we want to continue along the path that we are now.
And Doc, interestingly, because we've had successive governments, been measured by adopting a certain economic model, right, with respect to, let's say, agriculture, tourism. And this government, to me, has not had a sustainable economic model. And what they could boast of, because we had the leader of the country stating that if it is not passport, then what? And it seems to me that Dominica would be a passport generating factory, as was expressed by the Prime Minister. So it appears to me that even in a case where a government does not thrive on a model, to an economic model to develop a country, it seems to me that's a ship that is in lost direction. And we've seen the glory days of agriculture, and even just one subsector, which is the banana sector, has done very well under successive governments. And as soon as this government comes, the best they could have done is to throw out those who have the technical know-how and were trained to sustain the banana industry. And I know, although for sure bananas would not have been what it is like yesterday and the days that have been passed, but for sure it would be something that could still be sustained. In fact, I had some Lucian friends they came for the festival. Some, in fact, stayed home. And luckily, I had two guys home who actually worked in the banana industry and continue to work in the banana industry. And the guy was telling me he's rushing back for him to go and harvest because they are still sustaining the regional market. So even if we were not really doing the international market, but we could have done the immediate regional and sub-regional areas. And knowing that now that banana is in high demand. In fact, I was reading an article on Fresh Market, and it says that look, banana now is going to be a commodity. This should be a commodity that should never lost its value. And so I'm just saying that to say that this Labour Party government has not been able to thrive on what they call an economic model. And so I think they are lost. And that is why now we are grappling with such, economic depression in our country, because they really don't know where to go. And that is why too that the 10-pillar plan is actually addressing some of what we know that is lacking in the economy. And just as we were talking about the population that has been dwindling over the years, you know that there's a plan to sustain and to retain young, youthful, energetic Dominicans that can contribute to the economic development of our country. And of course, the 10-pillar plan will obviously look at youth retention, because if you are getting good jobs, paying jobs, there's no need to run. So yes, Doc, I know this is part of the plan, and I know you want to get in there with that. And I know we want to get in quickly so that we can resolve these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what the country needs. I mean, like you said, we have not really progressed very much as a nation. We have been surpassed by virtually every Caribbean country, where at independence we were ahead. We were very much ahead of all of our neighbors, So we really have to pull that back, and the focus must be on creating opportunities. That has to be one of the major priorities, of any government, to create opportunities for the young people. Because after all, the young people are like the sustenance. They are the lifeblood of your community, the lifeblood of your country. And if you continue to lose young people at the rate at which you're losing them to neighboring countries, well, they just go overseas and they help to develop St. Kitts, they help to develop Antigua, they work hard, they develop Guadeloupe and Martinique, and we end up losing out, So the focus must be on how can you retain your Dominican youth that can work in Dominica to develop Dominica.
That's correct.
And that is why at the center of our 10-pillar plan is to do just that, to retain. Youth retention is a critical pillar of that plan because they're the ones that you want to be able to work. And especially now, as we branch into AI and all of these technologies, is the young people. They're the ones that are going to be the innovators, and they're the ones going to have the abilities to think and to come up with new ideas and to innovate and to really help us move forward. So we need the young people. And that is why it's also a big part of our 10 pillars is focus on the young people of Dominica. And also why increasingly young people are saying, we are going to vote for you, the United Workers' Party Team Dominica.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, one person is saying that historically Dominicans have suffered the same as all of the post-colonial countries. Instead of self-determination, we become dependent on aid. That's a fact, but you have to say too, lack of government policies could be responsible for this. Because what we have seen over the years recently, we've seen by this present government, all they want to do is to create handouts, take away the youthfulness of persons, the working ability of persons, people's ability to fend for themselves, and want to be the person to be the government that will give a handout. But this is not sustainable. We've always said so, and we know for sure that this government just cannot do it. They've tried, they just cannot do it, and it's time for them to go. So yes. So let me just call up and bring in this honorable gentleman I call Dr. Tissy McDonald Thomas, our international secretary. Yes, I would like you to tell us good night in Japanese, because I know that you're out there working hard. Good night, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. I don't know if I want to go down the Japanese road, but
that's good morning. That's good morning. Good night.
Good morning. But it's good morning here, so I'll say Ohayo gozaimasu, which is good morning in Japan.
Oh, very good.
So good morning to each and everyone. Good morning to the people of Wesley and Wesley constituency. Good morning to you, Dr. Thompson Fountain, our political leader, and all the executive of the party. To our candidate in the Wesley constituency, Mr. Jean-Francois. Good evening. And I'm happy to be joining with you, Soso.
Yes.
And I look forward to the rest of the program. I'm here. It's a little cold, so I'm sorry. Let me take out my hat. But it's a little cold, so I've got my some sweats on to kind of break the weather. But otherwise, okay.
You look Japanese in your outlook as well. But straight into it, Doc. I mean, we have been early o'clock. We know we have just 1 hour, but you missed some time. We were just kind of reviewing and looking back. After 47 years, what have we attained as a country? And we know we've been politically independent, yes, but on the economic side of things, I don't think Dominicans can justly say that we have realized, our economic potential, full economic potential. And so we continue to have that, population decline. And so what is your take on all of this?
Well, so it's interesting that you touched on that topic today. I've been speaking to a couple of people who have been visiting over the independence season, and the feedback is not positive at all. Some of these people haven't been there for some years, and sometimes when you reveal what people say, people tend to say, "Oh, you're talking bad about the country, or you're bringing down the country." But in multiple cases, people who are coming in or speaking to me, are telling me that the country has gone backwards. From what they see, they can't believe that the people who are here don't understand what development is. This Labour Party obviously believes that development is building homes for people, and they believe in structures. But when you look at some of the things that are been done or not been done, we look at it. If you look at it through a spectrum of development, what you see is, unfortunately, our people have accepted mediocrity. And that is so unfortunate because some examples, for example, look at the bypass bridge in Hampstead. Look how long that bridge fell apart. And they made a bypass which is impassable during bad weather. And our people will look at it and say, oh, well, at least we can get through. Instead of putting the pressure on the government to replace the bridge, you know.
Right.
Another example, they sent us a really nice photo display of a sports arena that was going to be built, it was, when you looked at it, you were like, yes, we're going to get something nice, and then they build a barn, which looks like a plane hangar at the end of a runway. And our people will say, well, at least we have a place to play. So we have accepted mediocrity, and so that has helped or hampered the type of development that the country really needs going forward. And you and Doc were talking about the young people. A while ago, while I was home, I was looking for this young lady who had been home for many, many, many years, and she had been doing some work for me, and I was looking for her. And when I went to speak to one guy and ask him, where is she? He laughed and he said, she left. She went to Antigua, and within days I saw her picture of Antigua. She looked like a completely different person, So our young people are just, the summer comes up and school lets out, people graduate. And instead of looking for ways in which they can be productive in the country, they're looking for a way out, away from the country. And that's unfortunate because the environment for them to advance is just not present. It's not there, and this government has not been focused on creating that type of environment. So I'm happy that the United Workers' Party is actually looking at these things and, like you mentioned in the 10-pillar plan, looking at how our young people can get empowered. And when they leave school, they can, I saw a post the other day, a young person was complaining that the jobs that are opening, this administration is actually putting retired people who have already done their time back into those jobs instead of actually employing the young people, giving them the training that they need so that they can move forward in life. So, United Workers' Party plan, I think, is a good plan. Dr. Fontaine and others have sat down and really looked at the things that are going to move the country forward, how to energize or re-energize the engines of growth in the economy. And I think that's going to do well for us.
Yes, and thanks. And just as you mentioned about, persons who may have worked and probably reached the time of retirement and now being called back and preventing what you call upward mobility in the workplace, especially with the public sector. It's very bad, and we are not opposed to integration of experience and youth. And in fact, that's what we have been preaching. You need the persons who have gone through the experience to actually train those who are coming in. But what we have seen, though, is that is an overspill of persons who have been retired coming back in full swing and leaving those who have joined the service for a long time and looking forward to augment in their positions. And for some reason, upward mobility seems not to be, favoring them. And it's something that we need to address as a government in waiting, because it really hurts and it is disheartening. And that is why a number of young persons are just getting fed up with the system and they're opting to go to greener pastures. Probably that doesn't really exist anywhere, but it is better off being out of Dominica than to be struggling. And that's so sad. But the lines, we are calling persons to participate: 449 3095, 449 3096, 449 3097. And we expect you to just comment on some of the things that we have been saying and your own observations over the years, comparing now 47 years on since we have attained our political independence. What do you have to say about progress and growth, because I mean that these issues must be of concern to all Dominicans. So we're inviting you now to call. And Dr. TC, as you're online there as well, and what you know you are participating. I know that in your the community where you were born and raised in Wesley, and your neighboring community, Woodford Hill, and even Marigot, not too far away from trendy areas. I mean, these are actually agricultural areas, and the farmers themselves, persons like your father, this is Mr. Emil
Thomas.
Thomas, yeah, who of course did a good thing for Dominica at the time when we were facing a decline in our agricultural labor force, and he was actually, the one spearheading and coordinating the whole Haitian, influx into
Yep.
Dominica with respect to coordinating this program and to at least deploy agricultural labor to various farms to sustain agricultural production. And it's now, what's your reaction? Because so far, as far as I'm seeing in Wesley, Woodford Hill, and even in neighboring communities where agriculture was once booming, you see no more of that. I wonder what is happening, Doctor.
Well, one of the key issue is the lack of access, feeder roads. You mentioned my father, the property that my father had over 5 acres up in the Constant Spring area. We
Yes, I
call,
remember.
I actually own that property right now,
Wow.
but I can hardly get to it. It's and I've thought about developing that property and planting and the different things that I can plant. I've spoken to people who are more knowledgeable about me in agriculture and asked them what would be the best thing to plant there. But then if I plant, how do I get it out? Because there's no access. And I think that's across the board in a lot of places that people are willing to plant, people are willing to farm. And even on my way to Constant Spring, when I head up there, I see people along the way, making what we call in our local parlance, making a maneuver, trying trying something. They're planting, they're putting planting down, but there are
Right.
two things that's preventing the whole issue of agriculture in this area. One
All right.
is the first thing is the lack of feeder road, lack of access, and of course markets. People are complaining to me all the time that, hey, the plantings are just staying in the field and ripening and rotting, and you can just about walk anywhere in the village and get probably a whole bunch of planting to take home because the farmers have so many on their hands that they can't sell. So that's very discouraging to somebody who, a young farmer, somebody who's young, who thinks farming, and I'm talking about farming, the aspect of farming as far as going on the farm and planting. That is discouraging to them because why would you go into a profession when the people who are in the profession seems not to be doing well? I mean, you're not encouraged to go into something if you don't see the outcome as being beneficial. And so the farmers are catching hell in the area because of those things, a lack of focus on agriculture, the lack of markets, and obviously the lack of access to the farms. If we had access to that to that area, we call it SIMPA. I think the correct name is Constant Spring. But if we had good access to SIMPA, I'm telling you, my 5 acres would have been planted years ago. But my concern is plant it, and then one, what am I going to do with the produce? And two, how am I going to get it out once it's planted? And interestingly, so years ago when I was growing up, these places, I grew up driving Bedford trucks, and I could drive a Bedford truck all the way, a 3-ton Bedford truck, all the way to these farms. And here we are. You can't get a 4-wheel drive to these areas, when a sprinkle of rain has fallen. So that's definitely a detractor, and it's preventing people from going into the agricultural industry.
Right. And so, Doc, this is for you though, because I mean, you've worked around the world and you've helped countries, develop their economies by, assisting them put, adjustments in place where necessary. And so you have, in that field, you're great. But a little bit of transformation, and it's conspicuously seen in our country though, where in the past we had local Dominicans actually going to the banks, borrowing money and investing in businesses. You see like the likes of Mr. Edward Charles, right now you have E.H. Charles, you see even Burton's, you see Suki's, you see Macmillan, you see a lot of, entrepreneurs, businessmen, they develop. Today, we see a shift whereby now you find, take for instance, the other day that the government gave an individual, a public servant, 75 million US dollars to develop a hotel. That person is the developer. That person's own the land. That person got a developer fee, and that the investment is on that person's property. Where do we go from here? Because the banks are not making money from that. So which means that the banks, obviously, there's no money being lent, and so no profits coming back to the bank, and so no interest being paid. Everything is exclusively sponsored by the sale of the passport. Where do we go as a nation with this kind of attitude?
Yeah, so herein lies the problem. The fact of the matter is this government has not been able to chart any kind of course forward for this country with regards to the economy. And that's the reason why we continue to move from basically sideways. We lose our young people, levels of poverty increasing, social problems increasing as a result. When you're not able to use your resources that you're blessed with as a starting point, you have a serious problem. What we have in abundance is water and fertile agriculture land. So any kind of sustenance for the country must start with that. So typically what I would do when I go to a country, I try to understand what they have in common. What is it? What advantage do they have? What kind of minerals? What kind of resource that they have? And that's where we start. So when we start the discussion about how you can improve your economy, we always start with what you have, and the fact that we've not been able to do that, the fact that even our own people, as you said in the past, who've been industrious, who've taken risk and opened businesses, the fact that you've not even encouraged that, where our local private sector persons have been kind of cast aside, the difficulty they have to actually access resources. Any young person, for example, wanting to start a business in Dominica, unless they have a godfather somewhere, the bank is not even going to give them the money.
Right.
So the fact, so that means you have a failure to encourage your private sector, number one, and also to just use your resource that you have. So those resources are gone out there. I had a chance to talk to her whilst I was at the hospital today. I spoke to this gentleman from the Kalinago territory who was attacked by a couple of people, and he has a broken. They cut his leg up, and he has a broken leg and all bruises and so on. And he told me he's at the age of 65, and he's thinking of going overseas once he's out of the hospital to work.
Wow.
Because he has a brother in Tortola, and his brother is telling him, come up, there is work in Tortola for you to do. And he says, but I don't really want to leave Dominica. I'm 65 years old.
Wow.
I don't really want to leave Dominica, but it seems that I will have to do that because I can't find anything in Dominica. So you have people, even at that age, you have people thinking now who are never contemplated living Dominica, actually contemplating living Dominica. So that tells me that this government has failed our people, and the focus has not been there. They were extremely lucky. I mean, I cannot imagine a luckier government than this one to fall into this CBI program. It's not like they started it. There's nothing original under this government. They inherited the passport program. They might want to make you think that they were the ones who started it.
No.
The same way they want to make you think that they started the World
Korean Music Festival. Oh, no, don't go.
This government has not done anything original.
No.
Okay, so they inherited, they fell into the passport program, and instead of making it work for the majority of Dominicans, it's not working for a few individuals, it's not working for largely foreigners, and the rest of the country, they're literally catching hell. So, it pains me to think of a 65-year-old man having to now leave his country because he thinks he can get work outside of the country rather than get work here in Dominica. So that is the situation that we have, and it is very concerning to us, obviously, as a party. But we believe so that we are in a good position to do something about it once we inherit this government, because there is no doubt in my mind that the people of Dominica will give the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica, a chance to run the affairs of this country, and they will see a difference, because we do have a plan, we do have a focus, and above all, we plan to use the resources that we are blessed with in Dominica to move this country forward.
Yes, because, and that's definitely because in absence of a plan, one is more likely to fail. And by the way, a plan is not necessarily a recipe for success, but in the absence of one is more likely to fail. And so we continue to look at our country's demise with respect to poor governance, because this government really, in fact, not only that they're not even tired of I don't want somebody to call this government tired, because when you are tired, it doesn't mean that you did a lot of work, and so you're tired, and you know that you want to go and take a rest. But not only that, maybe, and by the way, they are tired to do work on behalf of the Dominican people, but they are not tired of helping themselves. That is for sure on the record. Because if you look at their lifestyle, I cannot understand how is it that they know best how to spend money, but other Dominicans do not have the know-how and the recipe. And if it's a good thing, Mr. Prime Minister, because you are one of the most progressive over the years, I would like you to share with us how it is that one can earn so little but have so much. Maybe you can help us with that. So we are just looking for that. Would be good for achieving 47 years of our independence, to know now how one can earn so very little but have so much. So that is the assignment for you for the next couple of weeks, Mr. Prime Minister. And I hope you can come up and tell us how magic that can work. But Dr. TC, we are not moving away. We are not going too far away from the focus here, because the 10-pillar plan seems to be resonating. Dominicans are, excited about this movement, and they are just saying, look, we are going to reconfirm to get things done. And if this government thing, by giving a passport to Dominicans to put them in, you are making a mistake, because what is behind that, my brother? You can swing high, you can swing low, Dominicans in the trick. You cannot come in a business. Your agents are there telling people if they want a World Creole Music Festival ticket, that they should reconfirm. How now do you want to use state resource, state activity like the World Creole Music Festival, engineered and initiated by the United Workers' Party? Why you want to now use that for political advantage? Well, you're in for a surprise. I mean, Doc, I know you all have a good man. You declared for the West constituency, Mr. Jacques Francois, who's working very hard. Yes. And he's made several attempts to communicate with the electoral office. And as we speak, Doc, we know now that this electoral office has stopped new registration, which of course in mind is a violation of law itself, and two, is a form of disenfranchisement for those who have attained the age of 18 and for those who want to exercise the franchise to vote for the first time. What is your take on this?
Well, we have to first start with the premise of what this government really looked at before implementing this program. And let me preface that by saying, this government is not going to do anything unless they figure they are going to be at an advantage. It would have been so much easier to do the re-registration. The infrastructure to do that was basically already in place. All you had to do was get the machinery, the equipment you need to produce the ID cards. But they went around this in a long way, because what they're looking for is a process whereby they can engineer loopholes to where they can get the advantage. And that's how I see it, because when you look at the complicated way this confirmation process is set up, it seems to the naked eye that it would have been much easier to facilitate a re-registration, start from scratch, and just re-register everyone. Other countries in the region have done it, and so it would not have been, rocket science to get it done. But what we have right now is basically a mess, to use a simple term, where you have people You have issues. First of all, the whole issue with the uh, the birth certificate, eliminating that at the last minute. That I believe was calculated based on what was done earlier, the handing of the passport to as many supporters as was possible. But I hope what is going to happen with them is that these people that they gave the passport is going to go into the booth and put the X by the saw and tell them, thanks for the passport. Now I can vote you out of office. So let's hope that's part of the calculation that's happening. But this whole, basically since March, nobody has been able to register been able to do new registration, and that's not right. That's not right. And every time that we've called and we've actually went into the office, we are given a story about a form. I mean, how long does it take to develop a form to register? All these forms in the new legislation were developed and placed in the new registration, in the new legislation.
Yeah.
So why is it so difficult to come up with a form that probably has, you can go in Excel or Microsoft Word and develop a form in minutes to facilitate whatever it is that they're trying to do? So I'm not sure why it's taking them this long to develop a form. And if in fact a form is the problem, then why then did you kick out the old system before you initiated the new system? That in itself makes no sense. I mean, you keep the old system going until the new system comes online, and then you integrate the two, and you get going. But to just stop everything, what you have done over these last few months is to disenfranchise a lot of people from being able to get new registration into the system. And then you have the issue of course, the birth certificate, and a lot of our young people who has never had to work because this government has not created the atmosphere and environment for them to do so. They don't have a social security card. They have no need to get a driver's license because they don't drive and they don't intend to. And their plan is not to travel soon, so they don't have a passport. So the birth certificate was actually the best bet to be able to confirm. And here it is, you've taken that away. And so now they're out there trying to figure out how they're going to confirm. There's also the issue of the old passport. There are many people with a non-expired passport. They have no plans to travel, so they see no reason to spend $150 to update the passport. But it's still a valid document. So why is it that they cannot use that document as identification for confirmation? That needs to be rectified. So we have all these ongoing issues with it. But as I said at the onset, it's painfully obvious that this government chose this system because they figured to them they would have an advantage and they would be able to maneuver the system to their advantage. But the hope is that this will backfire on them, and or people that they were hoping would not confirm, or people are going in there and they are confirming, and we're going to keep encouraging our people to confirm and to get registered as soon as this registration process opens up.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Doc, I wanted to say a little while longer on this whole issue, and the electoral office has a big problem. Number one, they're violating the electoral laws, and that is serious.
Yes.
Because the electoral laws are very, very clear that you must have continuous registration. Any person wishing to register now must be given the opportunity. So what happens if they call an election, a snap election?
People stay out.
Then the election must be nullified.
Yeah.
If the government of Dominica were to call an election under the circumstances where they have prevented persons from registering, I can guarantee you that this is grounds for the nullification of the election results.
I agree.
Because you cannot deny somebody who wants to register that basic right to register. And anybody bringing suit against this government, if they were to call a snap election, would have a very good chance in the courts, because the basis of the whole election process is that you were able to register to get into it, and now they have removed this registration, completely in violation of the law. So the electoral office has a major problem on their hand. That's one problem. They have a second problem. The election, the confirmation process and the registration process, they were supposed to remain separate. In other words, the registering officers were supposed to be continuing about the business of registering individuals, while the confirmation enrollment officers, and it's very clear, the functions are clearly set out in the legislation. It makes a distinction between enrollment officers and registering officers. But guess what the electoral officers have done? They have actually employed, in some cases, they have actually employed
Registering officers.
registering officers to be enrollment officers.
Oh,
That's a violation again. A major problem. So the
That's a problem.
registering officers who should be registering are in fact doing enrollments. They're in fact doing confirmation and not able to register. So this electoral commission, they're violating every rule under the table. And number three, equally important, you cannot tell me that to register, to get you on the voters list, the legislation allows you to use a birth certificate.
Birth certificate. Mhm.
You use a birth certificate to get on the voters list. And then to stay on the voters list, you are disallowing the birth certificate. But this guy's
They raise the threshold. Yeah.
Differential.
it's in serious problems. But they're doing this. They're contorted out of form. They've done all of that, trying to give Scary to win. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
electoral office of Dominica is trying everything in the book, including, by the way, employing 98% of the enrollment officers are Labour Party operatives.
Operatives,
I'm not
yes.
talking about persons who vote the Labour Party.
Operatives.
These are Labour Party operatives. So they've done all sorts of violations, and we are not taking this lightly. We are not taking these flagrant, violations of the laws of Dominica by the electoral office lightly. They have to change their act. They have to come better than that. And what they need to do immediately is to reinstate the birth certificate as a means of confirmation. They must
Information.
do it. They have to do this. That's number one. Secondly, they need to fire all of those enrollment officers who were clearly operatives, including those who served as secretaries and so on of the Labour Party. Thirdly, they need to remove confirmation centers in Labour Party offices. There are some constituencies where they have confirmation centers in Labour Party offices.
That's
Fourthly,
ridiculous.
they need to ensure that every single village in Dominica where people vote normally has an enrollment officer. You cannot have enrollment officers in some villages and tell an entire village that they have to go to another village to confirm. You are placing an unnecessary burden on the voters that is not legal. And I'm sure when all of that goes before a court system, we will get some relief there, but it might take some time to go through the court. In the meantime, the electoral office, they are on notice tonight. If they've not heard it before, we'll be making it formally to them. These are some of the areas we'll be tackling them on. Importantly, they because right now they are disenfranchising. In other words, they are causing thousands of Dominicans to not want to be involved in the process because of that nonsense. You cannot have one means of registration and say, well, that is just not good enough to confirm. You're already on the list.
You're on the list already.
You can use your birth paper. And now that you are on the list, you can no longer use your birth paper. What nonsense is that?
Right. So that's
where is that? What does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes absolutely no sense.
Make that make sense to me.
Yeah. But we still Creole list tomorrow. Well, first as well. No,
you go on the part of that.
No, I tried something. I mean, that backward in my country.
I heard that Dr. C using the pattern tonight.
Oh, well, and I did too. But it is interesting, gentlemen, that we are discussing this because it is a fact that you have pre-election rigging, you have what they call on-election day rigging, and you also have post-election rigging. And this government has fit in every category so far. But let me take some of the comments that have been there. I one person saying after independence there was never a plan to succeed. Who is MMC? Where did they come from? Do we do we trust our educated people to make millions, or we trust foreigners to take our money to foreign countries? Next comment again. We are producing the same thing our parents produced 60 years ago. Cocoa, cocoa sticks, rum pond, banana, banana chips, dashing chips, and so forth. And we're talking about, we have to move to augment our products in terms of added value, right? And I think we have another comment there as well. We have a very rich country. We need people with brains to lead the country to economic prosperity, just like you have in Singapore. So, Doc, these comments I think, are rational enough, and I think people are starting to realize that. And this government has been suspected long time. It's just that it's now time to dispose of them, and they will be disposed of democratically. And once the electoral bell is rung, I think Dominicans will act to ensure that this government is no more. Because it is interesting that every cycle of election, some people say we do the same thing over again. Well, now Dominicans who have done the same thing over and over again realize they have been the same person over and over again. So they do not want to be the same person over and over again. Because remember, as each election cycle comes, you get older. So 5 years is added every time an election cycle comes. Well, it's the first government in our history which has actually changed the election cycle from a 5 year
to 2 years.
to a 2 year election cycle. So they have done. This government has a lot of records, broken, but in
And they're
time,
not good ones.
and they're not good ones. A lot of broken records. Very good broken records. So we know. But gentlemen, time. I suspect we have not gotten called, but from the end stream we have a lot of information coming and a lot of comments. But we have not gotten a call so far. It appears that people are actually with us. The sentiments that we have been expressing so far seem to be favoring those who wanted to call, and will say, okay, we don't need to call again because the issues that we have are adequately addressed. But Doc, as you are in the morning in the what they call it, in the Orient,
Land of
in
the
the
rising
Orient,
sun.
yeah. So let me hear let me hear your concluding remarks here, please.
Yes, so well, as usual, it was great to be with you. There are a lot of things going on in the country that needs a fixing. One gentleman came, he told me that he hadn't been to Dominica for quite a while, and when he drove around the island, he thought he was in a ghetto, and that's not a good reflection of our country. But the intent is to make it better. I hope you can hear me well. There's a helicopter. I'm on a military base, so there's a helicopter in the background.
Oh, I know so, as well. Anyway, not a problem.
Yeah. So yes, so there's a long way that we need to go, but I believe we are in a place where we can fix a lot of the problems. As you said earlier, without a plan, you can go nowhere. And although you're having a plan, you are not bound to succeed. But without a plan, you're sure to fail.
I agree.
So I believe that we are on the right track. We have a plan. Yes, there's always need to advance the plan. There's always need to tune it and to make it better as we go along. But I believe we have a plan to fix this country. And what we need is for the people of this country to understand what they've been going through over the last couple decades, that life can be better. You were in your teens and now you're a grown adult with children and grandchildren, and your children are running away from you, and your grandchildren are getting ready to run away, and you yourself, as Doc pointed out earlier, are even running away. And I've spoken to, or I've seen some of the people that I was close to, elderly people who's just picked up and left, going to join their kids overseas because they just can't take the pressure. They left their farms. I know this couple in Wesley who I was very close to. I was surprised when I met them in church and they said, we're leaving. And I said, you're leaving? Well, why? And they said, well, they were in the cassava business and they were making no headway. And they said, we're going to have to leave and we're going to stay with our kids overseas. This young lady called me and I hadn't heard from her for a while. Well, I say young lady, she's probably her 50s. And she called me and I said, I haven't heard from you for a long time. I've been in Dominica all these months and I haven't seen you. And she said, well, you wouldn't have seen me because I'm now in North Carolina.
Wow.
And she left. And I'm thinking, you left, but you had a decent business you were working on. And she said it was getting nowhere. I had to get out of there. So we have this despondency in our country where people are getting discouraged, people are getting depressed, and so they're finding the only way out is to just leave the country. And that needs to be rectified. We need to fix that. So young people or middle-aged business people are suffering, and business is getting difficult. I remember when I wanted to restart my business after Maria, the bank actually came to me and asked me what I wanted to do. And I was thrilled about it and they asked me for everything. I gave them everything. And at the end of the day, they said, sorry, we can't help you,
That's going to know your business.
So this is the kind of things that business people are facing. It's very difficult to get into business in Dominica. Sometimes you try to be an entrepreneur and start, and it takes you months and months and months to go through the process. So we need to facilitate the business people. We need to facilitate the farmers. There's a lot of work to do. As one young man said to me, when the UWP goes into office, I hope they don't think it's going to be a cakewalk, because they will be lucky if they meet $200 or in the treasury to work with.
Yeah.
So we have to come in with innovative ideas. We have to come in with ways in which we can stimulate the economy. And I know Doc, along with the rest of the team of the United Workers' Party, is quite capable to do that. Once again, to the people of the constituency, Wesley, Maureen, and Smith, and Franklin, and all the others in the Woodford Hill area, talking Mabel and all the others, Jess, I want to say, hold on strong, get our people to get into the confirmation centers, get confirmed, because that's the only way we're going to remain on the voters list, and that's the only way by where we can facilitate getting this government out of there and getting Dominica back into action. Thanks also for having me tonight.
Yes, well, thanks again. But one guy saying to you there, choose brother. It seems to me somewhere is agreeing with you. Well, look, I know you come and do your conclusion, but you heard somebody saying there, follow the money. Why are foreigners doing big contracts, making millions, and Dominicans working for peanuts? In conclusion, do you agree with this call?
Oh, absolutely. That's a concern of ours. That's why, as part of our 10 pillars, we have the fact that any contracts in Dominica, the majority of the contract that is being funded by government must go to local contractors. If you're not able to get the skill that you need locally, then you source it out. But you're not going to have heavy equipment operators, truckers, and so on, foreigners come in and do that work when we have people here who can do it. So that is something that we have already promised for the Dominican public. Also, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our diaspora. Thanks to the diaspora coming to Dominica. Finally, a portion of the Warner Road, Warner to Layo Road is cleared up. The grass, the grass was growing on both sides,
and caving on the center,
caving on both sides. And I feared every time that there would be an accident in that area. Thank God it was merciful. Nobody got injured there. But on account of the diasporans coming into Dominica,
the cleanup
happened. I'm very happy now that portion of the road is cleared, but it took the diasporans coming in so that they would not see the kinds of conditions under which Dominicans are. Thanks to the diasporans coming in, the portion of road from the Port Cassé to the Cassibres Junction has been now, it has been, the potholes have been covered. So now you can, instead of taking 25 minutes from Port Cassé to Castle Bruce, I can now do
The junction.
I hear it used to take 25 minutes. I can now do it in 5 minutes. So that has cut my commute time to Grand Forks significantly, because now I can zoom past that on that portion of road there, which was not possible in the past. So we are thankful for the diasporans, and they come in to celebrate with us our 47th year of independence. But it shows a certain disregard by this government for its people, when it only takes visitors coming into your country for it to do what is needs to be done. And these are things that should be done on a routine basis. The roads should be routinely paved. The grass should be routinely cut. You don't have to wait for an occasion like our independence. People are coming in to pretend
as if
you've always been doing
that.
Yeah. And what is worse, some of those diasporans will be fooled by this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back and say, oh, we drove a nice road, no potholes.
What are you guys complaining about?
What are you talking about? Well, if you listen to us tonight, let me just tell you, it's not always like that, okay? It's like that because we were coming, the government did it. But for the most part, we suffer. So we need to change this government. I mean, there's no question about it. We need to change this government. And I believe that the people of Dominica are at that point where they're saying enough is enough. After 25 years of going backwards, you're walking, but you're walking backwards. After 25 years, I think enough is enough. And that's what I'm hearing repeatedly as we go on the ground, we talk to our people. And that's why I'm excited about the future. So I want us to hold our heads up. As bad as things are now, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel with the removal of this government. So that is something to certainly look forward to.
Yes, well, let me say to you, thank you, gentlemen, but let me also say to thank you. Oh, yes, caller, good evening. Sorry, I didn't see. Caller, we've lost this caller? Yes, caller, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to good evening to Thompson, Fontaine, and
Dr. TC, our international secretary.
Okay, all right. Good evening. Yes, why still on the subject of the diaspora coming home and allowing things to happen when they're wrong? There's an aspect to that from my perspective where also to make us look like we lying, we complain about things, and when the diaspora come and see it is done, they will say, but this people lying, man, look at the nice sidewalk, look at the nice road, there are no potholes, and making us look like we are lying about the country, or speaking bad about the country, and things are happening.
Yes, thank you, caller, for recognizing that. Well, we have come to the end of the program, but let me just say thank you to everyone. Somebody say happy independence to all, happy independence to you. But also, too, let me just thank Dominicans, those who participated in our raffle, and to patronize the raffle, and to congratulate all the winners who won of the grand prize of that Noah, somebody won it, and also the television and the tablet. Let me thank Dominicans for their kind patronage. I want to say that it's a pleasure. It has been our fourth year in this thing, and we really appreciate your contribution, your effort. We have nothing that tight, but you actually supported the cause. I'm going to say a big thank you to you. I don't know, Doc, if you want to mention the names again of those who have won the respective prizes.
Yes, I'm trying to pull it up. I know that Mr. Bruno Jean-Baptiste won the Noah.
Yes.
Then individual from, but at that precise moment, my internet is not okay. Here it is. We can tell you who the winners of the Grand Raffle were. Mr. Bruno Jean-Baptiste of Goodwill won the Noah bus.
Right.
That's the first prize of the Noah bus.
Right.
Marceline Auguste of Salibert was the winner of the Smart Television, and Rebecca Gist of Bagatelle is the winner of the tablet.
Oh, wow.
So these are the winners. We have the tablet going to Bagatelle, and that's to Rebecca Gist.
Right.
We have the Smart TV going to Marceline Auguste of Salibert,
right,
and Mr. Bruno Jean-Baptiste of Goodwill winning the Noah bus.
Right. So congratulations to all. We wish you well.
Congratulations.
But let me just say to you, Dr. TC, thank you for your time. I know it's morning time in Japan and you have business to do, but I am happy that you were able to take some time off your busy schedule to join us, and you should be joining us sometime next week too on Real Talk. The expectation is that you will join us. Dr. Fontaine, again, you've been, the leader of this wonderful and great party. Let me thank you again for your time. You have been just so consistent. Someone told me, where does he get that energy? And it appears to me that, notwithstanding that the government wants the treasury to be empty, but somewhere tell me, no, Doc will pull it up. So let me just say good night to everyone and thank you for participating. Until next time, we say have a blessed weekend.
Good night.
Thank you, brother.
Good night.
Good night. Yes.
Hypocrite, you dirty hypocrite.